All right. Hi, everyone. Hi, Terry. Hi, honey.
Hey.
Hello. How are you? There she
Hi.
is. Yay. My girl is on. I'm so excited. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome. All right, you guys, tonight we have a really special guest, and this is Ashlee Norman. And Ashley
Hello.
is a globally recognized award-winning hairstylist and educator. And she is the one that everybody's been asking, what do you do for your hair? What do you do for your hair? So you guys, this is the night that everybody can ask Ashlee tons of questions. And she's going to go over what she does to my hair and how she hydrates it and how she cuts it and the different products that you use on my hair. So we just cut it. We cut, we cut some off.
It looks great.
We
Well, I'm
trimmed it.
excited. Yeah,
Yeah, and
I'm
then
excited
we
you're
cut
on.
a little bit. I know she says this. I know it looks really good though. It does, and you shaped it so well too. It looks really, really good, and I appreciate you coming on. Before we get started, next week we're going to have Dr. Smith back on, and he is out of Houston. So I'm going to do put the flyer out. He's going to come on back next week at 6 o'clock. So everybody stay here for Dr. Smith because he's going to talk about his procedures, what he does to help people breathe better. And he's amazing. He's absolutely amazing.
He's amazing. He's right here in Houston, where all the amazing doctors are. So, Ashley, I'm excited you're on.
Aw.
Don't judge.
You have great hair, Terry.
I have a helmet here today. I wear a hat at work, so I get done. My hair looks like crap. But my daughter actually follows you, and she's my hairdresser, and she knows who you are. She also uses the products, so she's
Oh,
probably going
cool.
to chime in. I think she's going to watch,
Oh,
so
I
she's
hope she does.
excited.
That will be
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Oh, wow. How cool. What a small world.
I
I
know,
know.
right?
So
Awesome.
anyway, Ashley, go ahead and tell them what you have recently done. And she rocks my curls, and you know what? I like it a lot better because it's relaxed quite a bit. So the curls were
Yes.
tight for the first 2 days, and now they're loose, and I've been sleeping just normal. And this is how I haven't touched it except for just to brush it out.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, so obviously, Peg's got beautiful natural curly texture. She does not have any extensions. That is all her hair. I know that's a question that we keep getting, right? So we wanted to showcase more of her curl pattern and not just blow it out with this last appointment. We did trim it, so we did give her a little bit of shaping. But the products that I worked with primarily for this last look were these two products. So this is the Bumble and Bumble Curl line. And what we did was we layered the 3-in-1 conditioner first. So, one thing that I know Peg found really fascinating is that we actually sprayed her hair down repeatedly with water. So even though we had just finished the haircut and her hair was still damp, I took her back to the shampoo bowl. I wet her back down, and then I had a spray bottle of water, and I every single section sprayed a lot of water in, and then continued to squish the hair until I actually heard a squishing sound. So that's really important with curly hair is that you really, really have to hydrate it. So it's very porous. So at every bend, the cuticle is open. And so it's really lacking moisture. And if you don't push that water into the cuticle layer, what's going to happen is it's going to grab moisture from the environment and start to frizz. So first things first is crazy amount of hydration. Just when you think you've put enough water into the hair, put some more water in it. Then once we got the water, breaking the beads, getting the squish noise into each section by section, we layered the conditioning first. So the reason why this one, oh, sorry, this is the conditioner. The reason why this one says 3-in-1 is because this can be used in the shower as a rinsing out conditioner, or it can be used as a leave-in. So in this case, we left it in her hair. So penetrating with water, layering in the conditioner, this is going to add the slip and the moisture, right? On top of that, we went in with this one is actually really kind of interesting because it's a gel oil. So it's not just a gel, it already has an oil suspended inside the gel, which is really nice because sometimes gels are too crunchy. They kind of create this hard outside layer. So this one's nice because it doesn't do that. It keeps it still very soft. So the idea is number one, push the moisture into the hair and then create a cast with two products. So what I mean by creating a cast is you want to set the hair. So if you think of like doing a blow dry set, right? You're blow drying the hair with a round brush, for example, and then you're setting it with pins. This is like setting the natural texture in. So you're putting in the product, you're creating this cast. And then what I did was I brushed it through with this brush. So this right here is a special brush. It's called the Bounce Curl brush. It is a trademarked brush. So this is a woman-owned business. So you guys definitely want to support her. She's amazing who designed this Bounce Curl brush. Don't buy some knockoff cheap one on Amazon because that's just not cool. So this one has both a combination of boar hair and nylon bristles. So the nylon bristles are going to grab the hair and detangle. And then the boar hair is going to push the product in all the way through the full section. So getting that full saturation. Then as you turn the brush, what happens is the hair actually comes through these little ridges on the sides. So you can see that there's different sides depending on what size of curl you want. So you kind of pull that section through, the hair starts to ribbon between these ridges, and then you kind of just do like a little shake as you let it out, and then a little scrunch. So that term is called the rake and shake. So professional hairdressers called that term, that type of styling, rake and shake. So the idea is just getting that product all the way through the hair, even distribution, and then having it funnel through here so each individual wave is separated. So that's what we did with Peg's hair, and then we just did a diffuse dry. So taking the diffuser attachment on a blow dryer and keeping the air on the outside of the hair, drying the product onto the outside layer of the cuticle, trapping all that moisture on the inside of the hair strand. Once the hair was fully dry, and really what you want to do is avoid taking that diffuser and coming in and scrunching, because the more you make contact with that hair while it's still wet, what's going to happen is it's going to start to break apart and frizz. So you've already went in and created each separation with the brush. You don't want to break it down before it's dry. So you're just kind of putting the air on the outside of the hair. I had Peg actually lean her neck all the way back and put the back of her neck on the styling chair. That way I could just access the full head and just keep that air on the outside of the hair without breaking it apart too early. Once the hair is fully dried, that's when you can break the cast. So I used a little bit of this. It's the Hairdresser's Invisible Oil from Bumble. The nice thing about putting a little bit of oil in your hand before breaking the cast on a curl is this prevents the friction. So what I mean by breaking the cast is once you have those curls dried in that pattern and you don't want them to look too crunchy and too separated, and you want to maybe have more separation or bigger curls, you can go and break down those curls and expand it a little bit. But if you have a little bit of oil on your hands, that will prevent creating friction and frizz and give it an extra layer of shine. So that's pretty much what we did on Peg's hair yesterday.
And
So,
Ashley's going to give us the name of, I'm going to post it, you guys. So I'll post this,
Yes.
the live, and then she'll give me a list of the products, Bumble and Bumble. And I'll post that also in the comments on the live so you guys can have that, and the name of the brush.
Yes.
so
Absolutely.
Ashley, I have some
Yes.
questions. So believe it
Yes.
or not, my hair is very naturally curly.
Okay.
Like majorly curly. My daughter's my hairdresser, but as I've gotten older, it's this basically is because we blow dry it, and then I don't really wash my hair. With coarse hair, I don't wash my hair but once every 10 days. Don't judge me because it just doesn't go right. But with curly hair, what I noticed is it's very hard to maintain the next day. You sleep on it, and then the next day, how do you go back and get that texture of the curls just right?
So one of the things that I recommended for Peg was actually to go buy a silk bonnet.
Oh.
Or actually, sorry, satin bonnet. Yes, satin. So satin bonnets, what they'll do is they'll keep your hair from having all that friction on the pillowcase, right? So that's one of the biggest things is you sleep on it and it starts to frizz out. So it's the same concept of like sleeping on a satin pillowcase, right? So you buy those satin pillowcases to maintain the texture of your face, right? So it's the same concept, only you're putting that same fabric into a bonnet. So that's something a lot of curly girls do for sure. Second day, you might still need to go in and wand a few pieces. I did tell Peg if she needed to touch it up, she could do that. Because correction, we actually did her hair Monday and today's Wednesday. So this is a 2-day hair for her. And I did tell her that like the curls actually get better over a couple of days if you set that cast correctly. The other thing that I would also recommend in terms of product wise, I find that as we age, we know this with our skin too, right? We don't necessarily have the best texture in our skin. Our hair also starts to get a little bit more brittle. It starts to snap a bit more. So one of the things that you want to do even prior to styling is also help with the integrity of the hair. So I don't have the exact product. I have a different product, but this is the company that I want to tell you about is the K18. So K18 came out in 2020. So this product is only like, I don't know, five years old. And they basically eclipsed the technology of Olaplex. So I'm sure you remember when Olaplex first came out, like it was a big deal because it was all about, oh, this is the very first bond builder. Okay, so if we talk about bond builders, what we're really talking about is the disulfide bonds of the hair. So if you think of the structure of a hair, you have the legs of the ladder and then you have the rungs of the ladder. So the legs of the ladder, those are the polypeptide chains. The rungs of the ladder are electromagnetic connections, and those are disulfide bonds. So just like a magnet, they need to be close to each other to connect. And also, they also will shift and connect to each other in different shapes. That's actually what happens when we change the shape of hair with heat styling. So those bonds are actually moving and breaking from wet to dry, from hot to cool. They're also breaking when you're doing any type of chemical services, right? Obviously, bleaching or permanent color. That being said, if you don't have your polypeptide chain or the legs of the ladder, the rungs of the ladder don't mean anything. So that's where K18 technology came in. It was so revolutionary, and why it's become this incredibly global brand like within 5 years is because they came out with the first patented peptide that the hair actually recognizes as its own. So what it does is it goes in and replaces the broken peptide chains, not just the disulfide bonds, it replaces the entire peptide chain. So we talk about peptides in skincare, right? So same type of thing, only for the hair. So a lot of people, have heard in the past about, let's say, for example, protein treatments. Now, protein treatments, what they would do is they would take actual proteins from plants and they would hydrolyze them or break down the plant protein, and they would put plant protein into products. Well, the problem with that is those plant proteins are too large. The molecule's too large. It can't actually penetrate the cuticle layer. So they'll stack on the outside layer of the hair and actually make the hair more stiff and brittle over time. So people used to think, oh, well, isn't a protein treatment going to make your hair more brittle? Too much protein is bad. Well, yes, if it's a plant protein. This one, however, the K18 patented peptide is actually small enough in molecular weight to penetrate fully into the deepest layer of the cuticle layer. So what I would also say with Peg's hair, I made her get the K18 mask. So the K18 mask is the original K18 product that went viral. That one has the patented peptide in it. Now, normally you would think of a mask as something that you would rinse out after shampooing. This one is actually used more as a leave-in conditioner. So you put 1 to 3 pumps in your hand, you apply it on wet hair. They do recommend not to put traditional conditioner before use of the mask. The reason being is if you do a shampoo and then you put a conditioner, now normal conditioners are typically cosmetic, meaning they're going to be more waxy outside layer of the cuticle. They're not actually penetrating the hair. So when you're putting something that is meant to create slip on the outside layer of the cuticle, it's going to block the penetration of that mask. So the K18 mask, you're going to want to put in after shampoo. So you shampoo, towel dry, no conditioner. You apply the mask in. And what that's really going to do is it's going to go in and create that repair. As you use it over time, your hair is only going to get stronger. So I have a lot of women that are 50 plus clients of mine, and they notice, oh, my hair has gotten so brittle. And I have them on the K18 mask, and they're like, oh my God, my hair is growing so much longer than I've ever been able to wear it because it's not snapping off on the ends. So I think the integrity of the hair really makes a big difference in terms of the style lasting itself, because that has to do with the elasticity of the strand. And then also using the bonnet. So that was a long-winded answer to that question.
It's interesting. It really is. So with how often do you recommend somebody with really coarse hair to wash their hair versus someone that's maybe not as coarse? What's the regimen recommended for washing hair? Let's say you're not working out every day, just in general.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're talking about quantifying hair in terms of texture, right? So there's a couple different ways that we can think of texture. A fine strand of hair is a smaller strand by diameter with less layers of cuticle. A larger strand of hair with more layers of intact cuticle is what we consider as professionals coarser, right? So how large the hair is, how many layers of cuticle depends on whether it's porous or not, right? So something that has lots of layers of intact cuticle, that could be hair that is very shiny, for example, because shine is a factor of reflection. So if you have that thick, coarse hair that's shiny, that already tells you that cuticle layer is hard to penetrate. So that's one way that we think of texture. The other way that we quantify hair is density. So how many hairs per square inch? So if your question is like, okay, how often would I wash hair that is coarser? Okay, so maybe in your case, you're talking about the strands themselves are larger, the cuticle layer is a little bit more intact, and then maybe the density is low. So if density is low, even though the hair itself is larger, it can be weighed down easily by oil. So in your case, you might, say, I need to wash my hair more often. Although they do want you to keep, that balance with your scalp. So overly washing, as we know, is going to strip the natural oils. So there is going to be a fine line with that. There is products that you can get that help with oil control. So K18 has a detox shampoo that's great. It has charcoal in it. That one is really good to balance out the scalp. I had clients that had issues with dandruff, issues with psoriasis, and they were using the K18 Detox Shampoo, and that really helped to balance out their scalp and the natural pH of it. The other thing that I would recommend, I wonder if I have it in here. I think if you want to, sorry, I'm dropping things, wash your hair less often, another product you could use is the K18 AirWash. This one is a very interesting product because usually if you're talking about a thickening spray, you're talking about or even a dry shampoo, you're talking about something that's more of an aerosol can, whereas this one actually sprays in wet. And you wouldn't think that something that's more for drying out would be wet, right? So it's weird because you spray it in your scalp wet, but then as it dries, there's powders in it, microfiber powders that actually go in and dry the scalp. So it actually goes and absorbs all of the oils so you can extend your blowout longer.
Ashley, I'm impressed. You're like you're like the Dr. Reddy of the hair industry. My God, this is like a science. It's
I'm a dork. I'm sorry.
incredible. The hair, no, it's just amazing. My daughter, she's my hairdresser, and she also is very scientific about everything. But people don't realize that not everyone's hair is the same. There's different avenues for someone. It's just incredible, though. I mean, you really have to have a really good knowledge. I'm impressed.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. Yeah, one thing that we were even talking about on Monday, Peg and I were talking about texture and texture type, right? So, within my industry, one of the big things that has really become a very important topic is, inclusivity within education. So obviously I travel and teach classes pretty much every other weekend. I've been doing it for over a decade. I've done it through 3 pregnancies. I've done it with each one of my babies for the first year of life. So I could breastfeed exclusively with my mother-in-law as my traveling nanny. I'm definitely for women and mothers in this industry. And, I'm definitely also for inclusivity in terms of getting rid of the segregation. So I have some team members that are texture specialists, and they've, been through a generation where it was like, oh, there was a white salon or a black salon. And it's like, why is that? And why can't all people of all textures go to any salon, right? So
Great point.
um
Great
yeah, so one of the things we talked about is let's quantify hair by straight, wavy, curly to coily. So that would be type A, type 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then you can quantify it by thin, medium to coarse density. So that would be A, B, and C. So that's the texture chart. So when she was saying I have white girl curl, and I was like, well, yeah, that's true, but texture is not a race, so we need to quantify it differently. And so I was like, well, really where I would put your hair is for sure you have thick density. So I would say you're type C in that case. You have a lot of hairs per square inch. And I would also say your curl pattern is somewhere between wavy and curly. So wavy versus curly and coily. Curly is considered an S shape, and coily is considered a Z compact, just for reference.
So there's a question here. There's a girl that's a swimmer. I was a swimmer growing up, and wants to know, what do you do for your hair before you put your swim cap on?
So definitely get it all the way wet, saturated first. And then I would probably put some of that K18 mask in there and then put the cap on. So if you could think of a sponge, for example, like if you have a dry sponge and you throw it into a pool, what's going to happen? It's going to soak up all that chlorinated water. Now, if you take that sponge and you get it all the way wet and maybe even put some conditioner in it, and then you cap it, and then you throw it into a pool, what do you think is going to happen? So I think it's important to kind of fill that sponge up before you jump into that pool.
So Ashley, also, what about overcoming women that as they get older, hair loss? Do you have any suggestions?
So hair loss is something that is really becoming a big topic in my industry, big, big, big topic. And there's a lot of companies that are doing a lot of research on that, especially because number one, we've seen shed after COVID. So COVID shed is a thing. Obviously, perimenopause causes hair loss. And then we've also seen a lot of hair shedding as an industry because of Ozempic, for example. So drugs like those definitely cause, shedding. So, a couple of things. I do have a trichologist on my team. There is a certification that's separate from the cosmetology license in trichology, which is the study of scalp and scalp health. And, I've actually gone to her studio and she's actually done a full thing with me, which was really interesting. A couple of the questions that she asked me for sure had a lot to do with what I was eating and drinking. So, hydration is one thing. Are you getting enough water? And then the other thing is how much sugar you're getting. So, it's interesting because if you think about it, our body has all of these functions, and our body's going to protect the most important functions first. So if we have, you know organs or whatever, they're going to protect that before the hair follicle. So if you have anything that's lacking nutritionally, the first thing that's going to go is your hair. Your body's going to say, you know what, we don't have enough nutrition, we don't have enough hydration, we have too much sugar in the blood. We need to protect the organs first. Let's let go of the hair, right? So the hair follicle is a very low priority for the body. So that's something that's first that you really have to think about is your health, number one. Then the other things really could just be even like genetic. There's other, factors. One company that I'm actually going to be potentially working with in the near future that I'm really looking into, that they're just going to be coming to the US this year. It's a product called Glowa. It's Glowwa, Glowa with two W's. So Glowa is a professional company that is only going to be sold in salons, and they're out of the UK. And I've already seen them in Vidal Sassoon Academy, for example. So I know for sure they're legitimate. And I just had a conversation with them. They're going to send me some product to test because they're going to come here to the US market. And I think that's really, really cool that they're going to be salon exclusive because, we really are the first ones to diagnose that. A lot of times we're going to be the ones to see the hair thinning on our clients even before they can see their own back of their own head. And it only makes sense that we should also be a part of treating that. And so that's a company that I think we should look out for in terms of products.
So there's some questions on here. Perry, let's answer some
Yeah, there are
questions.
definitely some questions.
There
Go
was
ahead,
a
sorry.
woman that says she's let her hair go gray, silver. What shampoo products would you recommend for that?
Yeah, so silver hair. I have a client, actually Peg met her on Monday. So I did my two favorite clients on Monday. One of them was Peg, and then my other client, her name is Claudia, and her Instagram is Beauty Debut on Instagram. And she is an influencer for being a model in the beauty industry and being pro aging, right? So also being inclusive of age as well. So seeing older women on major cosmetic campaigns is a big topic. So she does have her natural silver hair, and it's very long. It's very beautiful. She uses a few different purple shampoos. There is actually one that's coming out soon that I actually can't tell you about because it's top secret, but it's going to be amazing. So I do think purple shampoos can help with avoiding yellow. So if we think of the color wheel, colors that are opposite of each other on the color wheel cancel each other. So violet cancels yellow. So if you notice any yellowing in your hair on the silver, that's what I would recommend to use.
Interesting.
Well, I do. What happens is as it oxidizes the color, mine goes very yellow, especially in the summertime. So I use the
Yes.
purple shampoos, and I'm telling you, it does work. It really does help keep that yellow at a bay. It really does. How about combing your hair in the shower? Using a comb in the shower, they're asking. What's your opinions on that?
So when the hair is wet, it is going to be the most vulnerable because when it's wet, the elasticity changes a bit.
Oh,
So I would be careful with not overly stretching the hair while it is wet, especially when it's really, really soaked and saturated. I would definitely recommend like a light towel dry blotting and then use some sort of leave-in conditioner and then start untangling from the bottom and working up. There's a really good brush here. I think I have it in this drawer. I'm going to show you this brush. It's so good. This one I use even on really, really curly hair that's very, very tangled. And it's so cheap. Like you can get this anywhere. This is called the Unbrush. This one's great because it's really flexible on the back and you can see how it's flexible, right? So that makes a big difference. So you're not going to have as much pressure on the hair. But I probably wouldn't recommend do too much ripping of your hair while it's fully wet in the shower.
that's
So,
interesting.
Ashley, what are some hair trends for this year or the spring? Or
Ooh, hair trends. So obviously I work with a few brands and I travel globally. Right now I'm working with Schwarzkopf Global and I'm going to be doing a couple of really, really big global hair shows. And we're seeing like full highlights coming back.
Oh, wow.
And that's interesting because I think for a long time we've seen a lot of like shadow rooting and a lot of like ombre looks, balayage, where you're seeing a darker root melting into lighter ends, which is gradients or graduation of color fade from dark to light. I think we're going to get away from that a little bit. We're going to see a little bit more full blonding, a little bit more of a Sabrina Carpenter feeling. I don't think we're necessarily going to just be doing traditional highlights. I actually think that you can do a to the scalp highlight that still is soft without a line of demarcation using the method of air touch. I actually used air touch on Peg, which is using a blow dryer to blow out the shorter internal lengths to blonde the hairs that have seen the most summers. So I think that we're going to see more air touch here, especially in the US. It was developed in Europe and we're just now starting to learn it as an industry. What else? Texture is very much on trend. Natural texture. So Peg's hair, I mean, she's right on the money with that. Like people are celebrating their curl pattern. I think there was a past where it was all about, doing silk presses or blowouts to kind of eliminate or smooth out. I had a friend that was Egyptian and she is a lawyer. And even when she started as a lawyer, they used to make her blow out her curls because it was seen as unprofessional in court. Well, now, we're seeing cultural change where people are actually saying, no, like that's not okay and that we can celebrate curls. So I'm definitely thinking more and more people are going to be celebrating curly hair. Let's see what else.
I'm going
Um,
back to Carl's Peg.
Good.
yeah,
I keep telling her, come
Yeah, I
on,
think I'm going to
let's
go back to curls.
celebrate the
It was
curls.
easy
And
to
it's,
do, but the problem with me, Ashley, is just it looks great and then maintain it because I live in Houston. It's very humid here. I go to
yes.
Vegas, I'm in heaven. But I
yeah.
can't, my hair is so frizzy. What is your, do you have any recommendations for people that live in really humid climates for their hair?
Um, Oh man, I really wish my friend her Instagram is Jennifer Does My Curls, and she was teaching me about humectants and she was explaining it to me and I can't remember exactly. So chat GPT humectants because there was something about that where it like water loving versus something. There's products that have humectants in them that help with that. But that's as close as I can get to the answer.
Humectants. It's called humectants. It's the first time I ever heard of that. Humectants.
Yeah, there is products that have that in there. I think Innersense is one of them. Innersense is a line that is for that has curly products, and they do have humectants in them for human environments.
Because the human, would you want to keep the moisture in your hair, or would you want to? Yeah. So would you want moisture or no moisture?
So remember like Peg, like how we were really putting all that water into your hair and I kept like spraying it and then crunching it and breaking the beads and pushing the water in. Like if you can get the hair as saturated as possible and then you layer products, you're locking as much moisture in the hair as possible. So that way the environment is not, you're not pulling the moisture from the air. Does that make sense? Like the hair is already full. Again, it's like going back to that sponge. If the sponge is full, it's not going to grab everything else environmentally. Does that make sense?
Yes. Can menopause impact
That's a
curls?
great question.
Yeah.
That's a great question. Yes.
Absolutely. Like our hormones change everything, including the texture of our hair. And even if you think about it, if you compare a hair that has gone gray, which is losing its pigment, it's typically a different texture than a hair that hasn't. Like
Yeah.
gray hair by nature, like in just in general as a hairstylist, I would say is coarser. So it's usually larger in diameter and it has a more intact cuticle, which is another reason why, as a colorist, we're taught to formulate differently for gray hair because it doesn't take color the same way hair that's not gray does.
I totally agree because I do color my hair, and I know if I grow my curls out, it's going to be very different than what I used to have. So,
Hmm.
yeah, that's a great point.
Well, I saw a picture of you. You had really, really curly hair. It was so
Nobody
adorable.
would believe me. It's crazy, but
It
it's
is
just
like really
changed.
curly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, with Peg's hair, how long did it take you to do it that day? Because it sounded like it was a process.
It was a bit of a process. I would say about 45 minutes to an hour. I think
Oh,
it's
that's
something
not
that you
bad.
wouldn't, yeah, but you would, I mean, it's like a blowout, right? Like it takes the same, it's a blowout for a curly girl, right? I think the thing is like the idea of it is like if you set your hair like this, you should be able to rock it for a while. So, that would be the ideal is for you to only have to do that maybe like once a week, twice a week at the most.
Oh, somebody said, when you get up in the morning, how do you refresh your curls? Would you just add more water to it and just kind of scrunch it a little bit, or would you add a little bit more product?
You could add a little bit more a more product for sure. I actually think that this curl line, if I'm correct, has a spray that's for second day to reactivate the curls. I don't know the exact name of it, but yeah, check that out. So Bumble and Bumble does have a spray activator mist.
Okay,
And
great.
again, we will list everything when we're finished because a lot of people are asking for
Yeah,
the
send all
product.
Okay.
that to me, definitely, Ashley, so I
Okay.
can post it. Yeah, so thank you so very much. I really appreciate you coming on here and talking about this. And this video will be posted live, and then all the information and products will be on there as well. And you guys, if you want to watch her work, she's absolutely amazing. It's Ashlee Norman. Is it just Ashlee Norman Hair or just Ashlee Norman?
Yeah, so Ashlee Norman Hair is the company, but yeah, Ashlee Norman Hair on Instagram, Ashley with two E's. My name's spelled back here. It's a little bit backwards, but yeah, definitely give me a follow, send me a DM if you guys have any questions. I'm happy to answer for sure.
Now, to watch
What
her
is
work,
your
guys,
Instagram? What's your Instagram?
Ashlee Norman Hair.
Okay.
with two E's. I'll post that also on so everybody can have that information as well. But
Cool.
thank you very much, Ashley. We really appreciate your time, and thank you for the beautiful haircut and the beautiful curls. Yeah,
Yes, you're
it
so
looks great.
welcome.
Yeah,
And
it's
thanks for all the
really good.
science behind the
Oh yeah,
hair. That was impressive.
yeah,
You're so
definitely.
welcome.
All
Yeah.
right, you guys. Well, thanks, Ashley. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you, ladies.
Great. Thank
Thanks.
you. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.